And President Trump is saying what has gotten a lot of press that he wants hundreds of thousands, 600,000 or so Chinese students to come study in America, which is a shockingly high figure. And I think it's partially a function of the fact that he's trying to get to a trade deal with Xi Jinping and he wants to smooth that road, make sure there aren't any bumps along the way, much like he did in his first term when he was trying to get his phase one trade agreement with China negotiated. I think it's also a function of how he just views relations between the United States and big countries like China and Russia. So I think the White House's response, they're trying to say, number one, this isn't a huge deal. This is a 2 year figure, not a single year figure, which was not clear initially. If that is true, then perhaps it is a continuation, but that's kind of besides the point. What everybody should be talking about is we can't keep doing what we've been doing because the Chinese Communist Party has exploited the presence of Chinese nationals in the United States to advance malign influence operations for years. They do this by reappropriating basic and applied research in American universities, taking it over to China, and stealing American innovations, essentially. And they also will conduct espionage. They will silence Chinese students on American campuses and force them to either advance the CCP propaganda line or silence them. And that's just unacceptable. We can't allow American colleges and universities to be fertile ground for the influence of an enemy, the CCP. Universities will go along with these repressive tactics of China because let's face it, they need money from Chinese foreign students that are willing to pay full price. And I think that is the final nail in the coffin. It's not just STEM programs and like security risks. It's not just what China's government is doing on these campuses. It's how universities are complicit in it because they need that money. It's all about the bottom line for them. And American values suffer in the process. First, is that we should expect the federal government in Washington, D.C. to protect our universities from foreign malign influence. It should be unacceptable to perpetuate a system where the Chinese Communist Party has free reign to steal our research, to intimidate students, and to get cooperation from university administration officials in that process. And that's number one. Number two is that the Chinese students coming here, in most cases, they are not nefarious themselves. Many of them like suffer more from the Chinese Communist Party than most Americans do because they live in China. They live under the CCP's jackboot every single day. So it's important in all of this not to vilify Chinese students who are here. The problem is the Chinese Communist Party.
President Donald Trump's America First trade agenda is working, and China is feeling the heat. While the legacy media has spent months lying about slow growth, Trump's tariff agenda is already reshaping how the U.S. competes with China, and America's industrial and agricultural sectors are benefiting as a result. New tariff protections are prompting the reshoring of critical production and strengthening the U.S. economy. The president has so far sent a clear message. The days of America propping up Beijing's rise are over. Thanks to Trump's leadership, we're finally winning again. U.S. manufacturing is rebounding. Investment is flowing into strategic industries, and American farmers are getting the protection they need from unfair Chinese competition and emerging biothreats. For years, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has targeted the foundations of our economy, hollowed out our manufacturing sector, cheated our farmers, and manipulated global markets with impunity. Under the Biden administration, Washington operated on the belief that economic engagement with China would bring reform and stability. That bet never paid off. Instead, we've seen mass intellectual property theft, industrial manipulation, and an alarming pattern of biosecurity breaches that could seriously harm American agriculture and our food supply. U.S. federal prosecutors recently revealed that a fungus called Fusarium graminearum was illegally trafficked into the country by individuals connected to CCP-aligned research institutions. This fungus is a well-known biological agent that renders crops inedible, threatens livestock, and causes reproductive damage to humans and livestock. This wasn't a minor violation or mistake. It was a coordinated effort to smuggle a dangerous agricultural pathogen onto U.S. soil to wreak havoc on our food supply chain and public health. Those involved included 2 Chinese nationals who were tied to American research institutions. The potential consequences of their actions were anything but small, as American farms and food systems could have suffered widespread contamination, economic loss, and long-term damage. Unfortunately, this isn't an isolated episode. Just last year, 5 Chinese nationals were caught surveilling a U.S. military site in Michigan. Additionally, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, reported that in recent years, numerous Chinese college-age individuals have been caught taking photos of vital defense sites in the U.S. Taken together, these incidents point to something bigger than isolated wrongdoing. They suggest an ongoing strategy aimed, originating in Beijing, at weakening key sectors of the American economy from the inside out.
A new Fox Nation special you're going to want to see. It's called The Enemy Above. It looks at China's growing military power in space. Now the U.S. is keeping pace and leading. General Whiting is the 4-star general in charge of everything, more than 100 kilometers above the Earth. And he says the Pentagon is preparing for a war that could start in space. General Whiting joins us now. He's commander of the U.S. Space Force Command. Great to see you, General. Where are we at with China? Are we still leading? Are we still ahead?
Well, Brian, good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you and your viewers. You know, I think it's clear the United States has the world's best space capabilities in really all sectors. But we have seen China move breathtakingly fast over the last couple decades. They are putting a focus on trying to dominate space. And it's our job to ensure we protect American interest and deter a conflict from starting in or extending into space.
I mean, if you want to protect the United States, I know where the land is. If you want to protect the United States above, does that involve protecting our satellites?
Brian, it does. I like to say that we have 3 moral responsibilities at U.S. Space Command. The first is to make sure that we deliver the critical space services that the United States and our military forces have become reliant on. Things like GPS that allow all of us to navigate to where we need to go each and every day. But the second moral responsibility is to protect and defend our satellites against the growing threats that we see, not only in space, but right here on planet Earth that can reach into space and either jam a satellite or even potentially kinetically attack a satellite. So we believe those are critical responsibilities that we at U.S. Space Command have to deliver for the nation.
So I want everyone at home to hear a little from the special. This is David Chang. He's GW University professor there, and Rick Fisher is the Global Taiwan Institute on Space Weapons. Watch.
There are different ways of categorizing space weapons. The first way to think about it is soft kill versus hard kill, and the other is whether it is direct ascent fired from Earth or whether it is co-orbital, in orbit.
The Chinese have maneuvering satellites that have grappling arms. The grappling arm satellite could grab the American satellite and just toss it out of orbit.
So that's soft kill. Hard kill, hit it with something. In 2007, the Chinese fired off a direct ascent kinetic kill vehicle.
So that's interesting. First time a lot of us are seeing that. Do you have a counter?
Well, at U.S. Space Command, Brian, each and every day we are working and planning on how do we defend our space capabilities against those threats that are very well described in the special. And our job here is to make sure that any potential opponent understands that if they were to try to attack us, those attacks would fail, and that we would continue to execute our critical missions on behalf of the United States people.
General, there's 2 other things that may or may not go under your command. Number 1, China wants to get to the moon and claim huge portions of it. We're trying to beat them back. We haven't been there since the 70s. And number 2, when the Golden Dome is brought up, does General Whiting's group have a role in that?
Yeah, Brian, regarding, Chinese aspirations at the moon, first, the United States went to the moon in 1969, and NASA's going to lead us back to the moon in the next couple of years in the Artemis program, and we're excited at U.S. Space Command to partner with NASA and provide them, a little bit of support as they do that work. But I'm confident that it'll be Americans that, again, walk out onto the lunar surface first here in the next couple of years. The President's Golden Dome executive executive order is a bold vision for protecting America. And in that executive order, it talks about tracking threats and missiles from space, and it talks about space-based interceptors to defend the American homeland. And so, we are laser focused on making sure that we fulfill the president's vision there.
It's hard to believe we just got a Space Force a few years ago, and man, you have a lot of responsibility in your hands. General Whiting, thanks so much.
This is why America must protect our supply chain and produce our most crucial farm inputs here at home. In a recent poll by the Protecting America Initiative, 71% of Americans said they would like to see our farm inputs, like pesticides, produced domestically instead of relying on imports from China. So, what are we doing to combat this growing and very serious threat? Thankfully, we have a leader who is taking this challenge seriously. Trump's policies have reshaped how the United States deals with China, and the results are starting to show. With Trump's America First tariff agenda, the world is seeing that the U.S. is no longer afraid to defend its own interests. When Europe was flooding our markets and ripping off the U.S. with unfair trade deals, Trump didn't hesitate. He hit back with tariffs. For the first time in years, the EU stopped treating American markets like a dumping ground. They came to the table, and American industries got breathing room. Now, Trump is using that same proven strategy to take on the CCP. He is restoring balance to a relationship that for too long has tilted in China's favor. China, like the European Union before it, is learning that the days of taking advantage of the American economy are coming to an end. When these deals are finalized, both Beijing and Brussels will be operating on terms that respect U.S. workers, innovation, and strength. Trump's bold tariff agenda isn't only a winning economic policy, it's a national security imperative. It protects our farmers, revitalizes our factories, and sends a message to the world that America will never be bullied or bought. The path to a stronger America runs through tough trade enforcement, and President Trump is the one who is leading us there.